न खेदं कुरु मे भक्तवरस्त्वं नात्र संशयः शृणुतात प्रवक्ष्यामि सुहितं तव निश्चयात् निरस्यते न भविता शिवः शम्ते विधास्यति यदकार्षीः शिववचो वितथं मदमोहितः स दत्त्वानीदृशं ते फलं कर्मफलप्रदः शिवेच्छयाखिलं जातं कुर्विद्धं निश्चितां मतिम् गर्वापहर्ता स स्वामी शङ्करः परमेश्वरः परब्रह्म परमात्मा स सच्चिदानन्दन बोधनः निर्गुणो निर्विकारी च रजः सत्त्वतमः परः स एव दाया मायां स्वां त्रिधा भवति रूपतः ब्रह्मा विष्णु महेशात्मा निर्गुणो अपि सः निर्गुणत्वे शिवाह्यो हि परमात्मा महेश्वरः परं ब्रह्मव्ययनन्तो महादेवेति गीयते तत्सेवया विधिः सृष्टा पालको जगतामहम् स्वयं सर्वस्य संहारी रुद्ररूपेण सर्वदा त्यजतं मानमात्मीयं मयीशे कुरुतं मतिम् I witnessed Vishnu Bhagavan saying this to Narada Maharshi. I narrated this to you and how Narada Maharshi glimpsed the unfathomable Shiva Maya. And today I will commence by saying, Ishanah sarva vidyanam, Ishvarah sarva bhutanam, Brahmadipatir Brahmanodipatir Brahma Shivo me astu sada Shivo. Meaning, Ishana is the Lord of all knowledge and the ruler of all beings. He is the master of Brahma and the supreme cosmic reality. May that Shiva, the ever auspicious one, always protect and bless me. I recently regaled to you about Shiva Bhakti. We reflected on a simple yet profound lesson. All that Narada Maharshi had to do was to attribute the success of his tapasya as Ishvara Vibhuti or Shivanugraham, and harmony would have prevailed. He could have embraced Vinayam and simply said, I am but an instrument, a nimitta, and he would have remained unscathed. Hence it is said in Hitopadesha, Vidya dadati Vinayam, Vinayat yati patratam, patratvad dhanamaproti, dhanat dharmam tatah sukham. Meaning, knowledge gives us humility. From humility comes worthiness. Worthiness brings wealth. Wealth leads to dharma. And dharma ultimately brings happiness. This lesson is deeply relevant to us. Our minor successes, whether in education, work, or relationships, so often serve to inflate our ego, our ahamkara. A moment of honest introspection reveals the truth. No success is ever truly ours alone. We are always standing on the shoulders of giants who came before us. Vidya, or true knowledge, teaches us this humility. The root word vid means to know. And the Upanishads do remind us. Yatha chittam tatha vachaha, yatha vachas tatha kriyaha, muninam trayametat hi pramanam dharma lakshmanam. Meaning, as is the mind, so are the words. As are the words, so are the actions. For the Munis, this harmony of manasa karmana vacha, or harmony of thought, speech and action, is pramanam dharma lakshanam, the true measure and characteristic of dharma. This ancient yet eternal truth of vidya dadati vinayam, vinayat yati patratam, patratvat dhanamaproti, dhanat dharmam tatah sukham. It offers us a timeless framework for understanding the evolution of the human journey. Knowledge or vidya is not merely about an intellectual acquisition. It is a process of transformation. It fosters vinayam or humility, which then leads to patrata or worthiness, opening doors to wealth, dharma, and ultimately true happiness. Yet knowing all of this is just one thing. Articulating it in language is a far greater challenge. Language, ironically, can become a barrier to communication. It distorts, dilutes, and limits the vastness of an idea. This is why our ancestors spoke of the concept of Rishi Hridayam, knowing the true intent of the author, the Rishi. They remind us to anchor our interpretations in the deepest possible understanding of the original intention of the Rishis of antiquity. When we narrate or critique any topic, especially one rooted in antiquity, we must do so with care and reverence for the original intent. This challenge only deepens when recounting stories from the ancient times. The moral, the social, and the philosophical contexts are so distant from our present sensibilities that it becomes difficult to extract the kernel of pure truth from layers of cultural sediment. It is easy to dismiss or misunderstand ancient tales in the name of contemporary reasoning. But I endeavor never to throw away the baby out of the bathwater. No matter how arduous, satyam or truth is worth seeking.
The Mundaka Upanishad says, Satyameva jayate na anrutam, satyena pantha vitato devayanaha, yena akramat rushayo hyapta kamaha, yatra tat satyasya paramam nidhanam. Meaning, Satyam alone triumphs, not Anrutam or falsehood. Through Satyam, the path of the Devatas is laid out, leading to liberation. It is the path walked by the Rishis, who fulfill all the desires and reach the Paramam Nidhanam, or the ultimate abode of truth. This is why I am meticulous with every word I speak, striving to preserve the original intent in its purest form. It is one of the main reasons I use Sanskrit to narrate ancient stories. Sanskrit is not just a language, it is life itself, a system of meaning woven into the fabric of existence. Consider the root Kri, which means to act. From this root emerge all other powerful words like Kriya for action and Karma for deed, all connected to the very essence of life. Like those luminous Maharshis of antiquity, in our pursuit of glimpsing this truth, I think Sanskrit is a wonderful medium for me to articulate some of these truths. And the more subtle the truth, the higher it soars. But the higher it rises, the more vulnerable it becomes to denial and misinterpretation. Krishna Tattvam is one such subtle truth, a profound mystery that requires patience and reverence to comprehend. It is subtle, it is sukshmam, a word far richer than its literal translation of minute or tiny. Sukshmam transcends the limits of measurement. It represents that which lies beyond conceptualization, beyond the grasp of the ordinary mind. So what shall we do? Let me suggest this. Refrain from hasty judgments. Instead, let us journey into antiquity together and immerse ourselves in revisiting these ancient tales. I will attempt to articulate what is essentially avyaktam, that which cannot be fully expressed in words. You may come to discover what was once to you agyatam, the hidden, the unknown. Together, through time and contemplation, with vinayam, we may gain the patrata, we may touch upon the rarest of treasures, the ultimate truth, that which is unknowable, the agyayam. To speak the avyaktam, to know the agyatam, to realize the agyayam, oh, what a journey it could be. Of course, all of this becomes possible only when we cultivate vinayam, the deep humility born of vidya. After all, remember, vidya dadati vinayam, vinayat yati patratam. Another such ancient tale, when even the greatest, none other than Brahma and Vishnu, succumbed to avidya or ignorance and ahamkara, which is the ego. Indeed, those were fascinating times. Pura kadachit yogindra Vishnur vishadhara sanaha sushvapa paraya bhutya svanugairapi samvrutaha yadruchaya gatastatra Brahma Brahma vidam varaha apruchat pundari kaksham shayanam sarvasundaram kastvam purushavat cheshe društva mamapi druptavat uttishtavat samam pashya tavanathamihagatam agatam gurumaradhyam Drishtvayo dushavatcharet drohinasthasya mudhasya prayaschittam vidhiyate. Nandikeshvara said, once upon a time in the distant past, Bhagavan Vishnu, the foremost of yogis, was seated on the serpent throne Ananta. He was in the company of his Parashakti, Lakshmi Devi, and his various parshads or attendants. At that very moment, Yadruchaya Gatastatra, by providence, Brahmaji, who is known as Veda Vidam Varaha, the foremost among the knower of the Vedas, arrived there. Seeing the supremely beautiful lotus-eyed Vishnu, he asked, "Who are you, who continues to lie down like an arrogant man, even after seeing me arrive? O dear one, arise and behold your master," that's me. A man who behaves arrogantly like an uddhata upon the arrival of his superior or guru is considered a fool and an offender towards his guru. For such a guru drohi, one who insults or disrespects his guru, atonement has been prescribed. This tale commences abruptly with Brahma the Srishtikarta addressing Vishnu the Sthitikarta with arrogance. It is jarring and defies our perception. I note the word used here. Nandikeshvara said Yadruchaya. Yadruchaya loosely translates to by divine will. I can't help but wonder about Shiva Leela again, because after all, remember what I said earlier, that both Brahma and Vishnu also serve Shiva. Param Brahma Vyayo Ananto Maha Deveti Giyate Tatsevaya Vidhi Srishta Palako Jagata Maham Swayam Sarvasya Samhari Rudra Rupena Sarvada Tyayatam Manamatmiyam Mayishe Kurutam Matim. Even Vishnu and Brahma are indeed manifestations of Paramashiva. Iti shrutva vachaha kruddho bahihi shantavadacharan swastite svagatam vatsa tishtapithamito visha. Kibute vyagravad vaktram vibhati vishamekshanam brahmovacha vatsa vishno mahamanamagatam kalavegataha. Pitamahascha jagataha pata cha tava vatsaka Vishnuruvacha matstam jagadidam vatsa manushetvam hi choravat. Mannabi kamala jataha putrastvam bhashase vrutha Nandikeshvara uvacha evam hi vadatos tatra mugdhayor jayostata. Ahameva varano tvamaham praburaham prabuhu parasparam hantu kamau chakratahu samarodhyamam. Yuyudhate amarau virau hamsa pakshindra vahanau vairancha vaishnavanschaiva mitho yuyudhire tada. Despite maintaining an outwardly peaceful demeanor, Bhagavan Vishnu spoke, "O child, may your welfare be ensured, and you are welcome here. Come, take a seat upon this throne. However, I see anxiety reflected upon your face, and your eyes reveal a conflicting emotion." Then Brahma said, "O child, O Vishnu, the influence of time has filled you with immense arrogance. O child, know that I am the grandsire of this universe and your protector." Then Vishnu replied, "O child, this entire cosmos is situated within me, yet you, like a thief, falsely claim another's wealth as your own. You are born from the lotus of my navel, hence you are my son. You speak meaningless words." Then Nandikeshvara said, "O Muni, at that time both the unborn Brahma and Vishnu, deluded by ignorance, began declaring, 'I am the greatest, I am the supreme master, not you.' And speaking thus, they became intent on destroying one another and prepared for battle. Mounted upon a swan and Garuda respectively, the two mighty warriors Brahma and Vishnu engaged in battle. Their respective ganas too began warring against one another. Here, the story is entertaining as it is. Whilst I am deeply aware of the all-pervasive Shivamaya, I cannot help but think of the state of mind of the Srishtikarta Brahma and the Sthitikarta Vishnu. In a deep sense, Shiva Maya. In fact, Maya itself is illusory in its most empirical nature. It is, in one sense, created by the mind itself. Mana evam manushyanam karanam bandhamokshayoho bandhaya vishayasaktam muktam nirvishayam smritam. Amrita Bindu Upanishad says this. The mind alone is the cause of bondage and liberation for human beings. Attached to sense objects, it leads to bondage. Free from sense objects, it leads to liberation. This Upanishad identifies the mind as the pivotal force determining our state of bondage or liberation. When the mind is entangled in desires and attachments to sensory experiences, it fosters a sense of ego or ahamkara, and individuality leading to suffering and bondage. Conversely, when the mind transcends these attachments, recognizing the illusory nature of the ego, it moves towards liberation and the realization of the true self, or the Atman. In this episode, where Brahma and Vishnu dispute over supremacy, both deities exhibit egoistic tendencies, each asserting their own greatness. This mirrors the human condition, where the mind, influenced by the ahamkara, creates a false sense of self-importance and separation. Just as their conflict arises from ego-driven perceptions, our own struggles often stem from the mind's attachments and identifications. In today's world, the mind's fickle nature manifests in our constant pursuit of external validations, material possessions, and status. This relentless chase is driven by ahamkara, leading to stress, anxiety, and a perpetual sense of dissatisfaction. By cultivating a deep understanding of the teachings of the Upanishads, we can recognize that true contentment arises not from external acquisitions, but from inner detachment and self-awareness. Cultivating mindfulness and discerning the transient nature of worldly experiences can help us transcend the ego's illusions, leading to a more peaceful and liberated existence. Thus, the ancient wisdom encapsulated in the Amrita Bindu Upanishad offers timeless guidance on managing the mind and the ego, urging us to look inward for true freedom and happiness. So, the mind is the problem, or is it? Understanding this one thing is probably of profound significance. What is the Upanishad actually saying? Not the mere language of it, but the true essence of it. Is the mind the problem, or do we make the mind problematic? Can understanding the true nature of mind even possible? Because isn't it so that the act of understanding itself, or cognition, is also a function of the mind? Well, if so, then the observer and the observed are both the same. Is this possible? I'm exactly asking the kind of questions that the Upanishad nudges us towards. Questions that don't have easy answers, but whose exploration itself is transformative. Oh, what a fascinating mind. We will revisit this. For now, let's go back to the battlefield. Tavad vimana gatayah sarvavai devajatayah didrukshapah samajagmuhu samarantam mahadbhutam kshipantah pushpavarshani pashyantah svairamambare suparnavahanastattra kruddho vai brahma vakshasi mumocha banan assahanastramscha vividan bahun mumochat vidhi kruddho vishnorurasi dussahan banan analasankashan astramscha bahushastada tadascharyamitthi spashtam tayoha samaragocharam samiksha daivataganaha shashamsu bhrushamakulaha tato vishnuhu susamkruttaha shvasan vyasana karshitaha maheshwarastram matiman sandade brahmano pari tato brahma bhrusham kruttaha kampayan vishwamevahi astram pashupatam ghoram sandadhe vishnu vakshasi tatastat utthitam vyomni tapanayuta sannibham Sahasramukamatyugram Chandavata Bhayankaram Astradvayamidam Tatra Brahma Vishnavor Bhayankaram. At that moment, all the Devagan, or the celestial beings, eager to witness that extraordinary and wondrous battle, ascended their divine aerial chariots and swiftly reached the battleground. Hovering in the vast skies, they watched in awe, showering flowers upon the warriors below. Seated upon his mighty Garuda, Bhagavan Vishnu, his eyes ablaze with fury, launched a relentless assault upon Brahma's chest. Countless unbearable arrows, accompanied by a barrage of divyastras or deadly celestial weapons, rained down like a storm upon the Srishtikarta Brahma. Like flames of a raging fire, arrows and weapons of immense power tore through the air as both deities unleashed their might. The Devatas, witnessing this astonishing battle between Brahma and Vishnu, were struck with immense anxiety. Their voices trembled as they sang praises of both the warriors, marveling at their cosmic duel. Then, the omniscient Vishnu, fully absorbed in the intensity of war, was overcome with unrelenting wrath. Exhausted yet unyielding, he let out a deep and powerful breaths, his chest rising and falling like the tides of the ocean. Fixing his fiery gaze upon Brahma, he invoked the terrifying Maheshwarastra, a weapon of immense destruction infused with the energy of Shiva himself. Brahma, equally consumed by blazing fury, retaliated. Locking his sight upon Vishnu's heart, he summoned the dreadful Pashupatastra, a weapon so powerful that it shook the very fabric of the cosmos. And then both the divine weapons manifested in the sky, dazzling like 1,000 suns, roaring like an unstoppable hurricane, their fury boundless and unimaginable. The heavens trembled, the winds howled, and the fate of creation itself seemed to hang in the balance. Ittam babhuva samaram Brahma Vishnavoho parasparam Tato devaganaha sarve Vishanna bhrushamakulaha Ujuhu parasparam tata Rajakshobhe yatha dvijaha. Srushtihi stitischa Samhara stiro bhavo apyanugraha Yasmat pravartate tasmai Brahmanecha trishuline. Ashakyam anyairyat anugraham vina Trunakshayopyatra yadruchaya kvachit. Iti deva bhayam krutva vichinvantaha shivakshayam jagmuhu kailasa shikharam yatraste chandrasekharaha. Drushtavaiva mamara hristaha padam tatparameshwaram pranemuhu pranavakaram pravishthastatra sadani. As the fierce battle between Brahma and Vishnu raged on, the heavens trembled. The Devaganas, witnessing this terrifying clash, became deeply distressed and anxious, just as learned Brahmins become troubled in times of royal unrest. In their sorrow, they spoke amongst themselves. They said, that supreme being, by whom Srishti, Sthiti, Laya, Tirobhava and Anugraha all are enacted, without whose divine will not even a blade of grass can be destroyed, unto the trident-bearing Paramatma, the very embodiment of Brahman, we offer our salutations. Filled with fear and concern, and thus pondering, all the Devagan resolved to seek Shiva's divine presence. With this in mind, they ascended towards Mount Kailasha, where Chandrasekhara, Maheshwar, resided. Upon reaching that sacred abode, which was shaped like the divine syllable Pranava or Om, the Devagan were overjoyed. With deep reverence, they bowed down before that eternal dwelling of Maheshwara and humbly entered his divine presence. Tepi tatra sabha madhye mandape manivishtare virajamanam umaya tadrushar deva pungavam. Savyottare tarapadam तदर्पितकराम्बुजं स्वगणैः सर्वतो जुष्टं सर्वलक्षणलक्षितम् वीज्यमानं विशेषज्ञैः स्त्रीजनैस्तीव्रभावनैः शंस्यमानं सदा वेदैरनुगृह्णन्तिमीश्वरम् दृष्ट्वैवम् ईशममराः सन्तोषसलिलेक्षणाः दण्डवद्दूरतो वत्स नमश्चक्रुर्महागणाः तानवेक्ष्य पतिर्देवान् समीपे चाह्वयत्गणैः अत संवादयन् देवान् देवो देवशिखामणिः अवोचदत् गम्भीरं वचनं मधुमङ्गलम्. The Devatas beheld Bhagavan Shiva seated upon a jewel-encrusted throne in the grand assembly hall. There, in the center of a magnificent pavilion, he shone brilliantly, accompanied by Devi Parvati. His right foot rested upon his left, and above it he placed his lotus-like left hand. Adorned with all auspicious signs, he was surrounded on all sides by his devoted ganas, who stood in attendance, eager to serve him. Graceful women, endowed with deep devotion, gently waved chamaras over him, while the eternal Vedas sang his praises. With a gaze full of compassion and grace, Shiva beheld all beings. O dear one, upon witnessing this divine vision of Maheshwara, the Devatas were overwhelmed with joy and reverence. Their eyes filled with tears of bliss, and from a distance they prostrated before him in deep devotion. Seeing them, Bhagavan Shankara, the foremost among the gods, commanded his ganas to invite them closer. Then the Devashiromani Mahadeva comforted and delighted the Devatas. With his voice resonating with profound meaning, auspiciousness, and divine sweetness, he began to speak. While the eternal Vedas sang his praises, as the celestial assembly marveled at Maheshwara's divine presence, an awe-inspiring spectacle unfolded. The eternal Vedas themselves were engaged in singing his praises. Pause for a moment and let this sink in. The Vedas, timeless, formless, vast beyond measure, are indulging in Shiva Stuti. What does this mean? What does it reveal? At the heart of this vision lies a profound and mystical truth, the interplay of Rupam, Tattvam, and Chaitanyam. Everything we see, everything that we do not see, everything we can imagine, and even beyond, is infused with Chaitanyam, the very essence of consciousness. It is this very Chaitanyam that flows through all existence, pulsating through the cosmic aura like an eternal rhythm. And if Chaitanyam is everywhere, then the Vedas, the very embodiment of knowledge and wisdom, are no exception. The Vedas are alive. They are not merely words inscribed on palm leaves. Ishvara uvacha vatsakaha svastivaha kachit vartate mama shasanat jagacha devata vamshaha svasvakarmani kimnava prageva viditam yuddham Brahma Vishnavor maya suraha bhavatam abitapena paunaruktvena bhashitam iti sasmitaya madhvya kumara paribhashaya samatoshayat ambayaha sapatistat suravrajam atha yuddhanganam gantum haridhatro radhishvaraha agyapayat uneshanam shatam tatraiva samsadi Tato vadhyam bahuvidham prayanaya pareshituhu ganeshwarascha sannatha nana vahana bhushanaha pranavakara madhyantam panchamandala manditam aruroha ratham bhadram ambika patirishwaraha sasunu ganamindradhyaha sarve apyanuyayuhu suraha chitradhvaja Vyajana Chamara Pushpavarsha Sangeeta Nrutya Nivahairapi Vadhyavargaihi Sammanitaha Pashupatihi Parayacha Devya Sakam Tayoho समरभूमिमगात ससैन्यः समीक्षतु तयोर्युद्धं निगूढोपनमं समास्थितः समाप्तवाद्यनिर्घोषः शान्तोर्गणनिस्वनः अथ ब्रह्माच्युतौ वीरौ हन्तुकामौ परस्परं माहेश्वरेण च अस्त्रेण तथा पाशुपतेन च अस्त्रज्वालैरथो दग्धं ब्रह्मविष्णवोर्जगत्त्रयम् इशोपितं निरीक्ष्याथ ह्यकालप्रलयं भृशम् महानलस्तम्भविभीषणाकृती बभूव तन्मध्यतले स निष्कलः. Sadashiva said, O my sons, are you all doing well? Is the world and the best among the Devatas following my command and engaged in their respective duties? O Devatas, I was already aware of the battle between Brahma and Vishnu. Yet, by taking the effort to come here, you have narrated it to me once again. O Sanat Kumara, does Umapati Shankara, with a gentle smile and in a sweet voice, pacified the assembly of gods. Thereafter, Mahadeva commanded his hundreds of ganas in the assembly to proceed towards the battlefield of Brahma and Vishnu. Then, for Mahadeva's departure, various musical instruments began to play, and his ganas, adorned in different attires and ornaments, mounted their respective vehicles, ready to depart. Umapati, seated upon a magnificent chariot, adorned with the 5 mandalas and shaped like the sacred syllable Om, from front to back, set forth. Accompanied by his sons and attendants, Paramashiva began his journey, followed by Indra and all the other Devatas. With magnificent banners, fans, chowries, showers of flowers, music and dance, and the sounds of instruments honoring him, Pashupati Shiva, along with Umadevi and his army, arrived at the battlefield where Brahma and Vishnu were engaged in a battle. Observing the fierce battle between the two, Paramashiva silenced the uproar of his ganas and the sounds of musical instruments and positioned himself in the sky in a concealed manner. Meanwhile, the mighty Brahma and Vishnu, determined to defeat each other, prepared to unleash the Maheshwarastra and the Pashupatastra. The flames of their Divyastras or divine weapons began to consume the 3 worlds. Witnessing this untimely apocalypse, the formless Lord Shankara, taking the form of a colossal and terrifying pillar of fire, manifested between them. Te astre chapi sajvale loka samharanakshame nipetatuhu kshanenaiva hyavirbhute mahanale društva tad adbhutam chitramastra shantikaram shubham kimetad adbhutakaram ityuchuscha parasparam atindriyamidam stambamagnirupam kimustitam asyordhvamapi chadhascha avayor lakshamevahi iti vyavasthitau virau militau viramaninau tatparau tatparikshartham pratastatheta satvaram avayor mishrayos tatra karyamekam na sambhavet ityuktva sukaratanur vishnustasya adimiyavan tatha brahma hamsatanustadantam vikshitum yayau bhitva patala nilayam gatva durataram harihi na pashyattasya samsthanam stambasya analavarchasaha shrantah sasakura harihi prapapurvam rananganam. The 2 divine weapons capable of destroying the entire universe instantly became calm with all their brilliance as soon as that great pillar of fire manifested. Seeing this astonishing and auspicious pillar of fire, which had subdued the celestial weapons, everyone began to ask each other in wonder, what is this extraordinary form? How did this divine pillar of fire appear? Let us examine both its height and its base. Making this decision together, the 2 proud warriors resolved to test it and immediately set out on their respective quests. This task cannot be accomplished if we remain together. Saying this, Vishnu assumed the form of a boar and went in search of its root. Likewise, Brahma took the form of a swan and set off to find its summit. Digging deep into the netherworld and traveling far, Vishnu still could not find the base of the fire-like radiant pillar. Finally, exhausted and unsuccessful, he returned to the battlefield in his boar form. Atagachamstu vyomnacha vidistat pita tava dadarsha ketaki pushpam kinchit siddhivyutam adbhutam. Ati saurabhyam avalanam bahuvarshachutam tatha anviksha tayoho krutyam bhagavan parameshwaraha. Parihasam tu krutvan kampanat chalitam shiraha tasmat tava anugrihnatum chutam ketakam uttamam. Kim tumam patasi pushpesha pushparat kena vaidhrutaha adimasya aprameyasya stambhamatya chuttaschiram. Nasampashyami tasmatvam jahya shamantadarsane asyantasya chisevartham hamsamurti rihagataha. Itah param sakhe medhya tvaya kartavyamipshitam maya sahat tvaya vachyametad vishnoscha sannidhau. Stambhanto vikshito dhatra tatra sakshaha machyata ityuktva ketakam tatra prananama punah punaha asatyamapi shastam syad apaditya anushasanam. Samiksha tatrachyutamayatamashramam pranashta harsham tu nanarta harshat uvacha chainam paramarthamachyutam shandatvadaha savidistadochitam. Stambhagrame tat samudikshitam hare tatraiva sakshi nanuketakam tvidam tato vada tatrahi ketakam rusha tateti tadvatrus vachastadantike. Harischam tat satyamitiva chintayamaschakara tasmai vidhaye namasvayam shodashair upacharaischa pujayamasa tam vidhim. O dear one, as your father Brahma was traveling through the sky, he saw an extraordinary ketaki flower falling along the way. Though it had been falling for many years, it remained fresh and highly fragrant. Witnessing the intense conflict between Brahma and Vishnu, Paramashiva laughed, causing a slight tremor that made his head move, and thus that sacred ketaki flower descended upon them as a gesture of his grace. Brahma then asked the flower, "O king of flowers, who has been holding you, and why are you falling?" The ketaki flower replied, "I have been falling from the middle of this ancient and immeasurable pillar for a very long time, yet I have never been able to see its beginning. Therefore, you too should abandon the hope of finding its end." Brahma then said, "Well, I have come here in the form of a swan to find its end. Now, my friend, you must fulfill a wish of mine. Come with me to Vishnu and tell him, Brahma has seen the end of this pillar. O Achyuta, I am a witness to this truth." Saying this, Brahma repeatedly bowed to the ketaki flower and justified his actions by citing the scriptures. In times of crisis, even falsehood is considered acceptable. Meanwhile, seeing Vishnu exhausted from his great effort and disappointed at not finding the pillar's base, Brahma, overcome with joy, began to dance. Speaking deceitful words like a coward, he addressed Vishnu and said, "O Hari, I have seen the top of this pillar, and this ketaki flower is my witness." Then the ketaki flower, falsely supporting Brahma, declared before Vishnu that Brahma's statement was indeed true. Believing Brahma's words to be true, Vishnu himself bowed to him and performed Shodashopachar puja, which is a 16-fold ritual. Vidhim prahartum shatamagni lingataha sa ishvarastatra babhuva sakrutihi samuttitaha swami lokanat punaha prakampapanihi parigruhya tatpadam. Adhyanta vihina vapushi tvai moha buddhaya bhuyan vimarshahi navati kamanottaha sattvam prasida karunakara kashmalam nau mrushtam kshamasva vihitam bhavataiva kailya. Ishvara uvacha vatsa prasannosmi hare yatastvam ishatvamichannapi satyavakyam bruyastataste bhavita janeshu samyam maya satkutarapyalapsi. Itah param te pruthagatmanascha kshetra pratishtotsav cha iti devaha pura pritaha satyena haraye param dadau swasamyamatyartham deva sanghecha pashyati. At that very moment, to punish the deceitful Brahma, Maheshwara manifested from the blazing pillar of fire. Seeing the Parameshwara appear before him, Vishnu immediately stood up and with trembling hands grasped his feet and pleaded, "O compassionate one, you are the Parameshwara, whose form is without beginning or end. In my ignorance, I have tried to comprehend your nature through my buddhi or intellect, but all such thoughts arising from mere desires have proven futile. Therefore, please be gracious upon us, destroy our sins, and forgive us. Everything that has transpired is merely your Leela, a play of your divine will." The Bhagavan replied, "O dear one, I am pleased with you. Though you desired supremacy, you still upheld the truth. Therefore, among all the beings, you shall receive honor and reverence equal to mine, Samyam Maya. O Hari, from now on, your distinct form shall be enshrined in sacred pilgrimage sites where it shall be worshipped with grand festivities and devotion." Thus, pleased by Vishnu's steadfast commitment to truth, Paramashiva granted him equality in status before all the Devatas. As the battle of egos raged between Brahma and Vishnu, a question far greater than their struggle loomed over existence itself. It was a question that has been contemplated by the Brahma Rishis of antiquity, the most profound of thinkers. A question that, once answered, would leave nothing else left to be known. What is the nature of the mind? What is its tattvam, its true essence? You see, Vishnu, in his sincere quest, has tried to grasp the nature of the infinite. But as he stood before Paramashiva, humbled, he realized a truth far more profound than any conquest. Neti neti, not this, says Brihat Aranyaka Upanishad. The mind, the very tool through which one perceives, cannot perceive itself. The observer and the observed cannot be the same. The fire of the Maheshwara Linga was not merely a cosmic pillar, it was an eternal paradox manifest. The infinite cannot be measured by the finite, and yet, bound by its own nature, the finite continues to seek it. Vishnu admitted his mistake. He recognized his limitation. Unlike Brahma, who sought to claim knowledge that he did not possess, Vishnu surrendered, and in that surrender, he triumphed. This is the paradox of the mind. It is both the bridge and the barrier. When understood deeply, it leads to the highest truth. When misunderstood, it leads to delusion. Mana eva manushyanam karanam bandhamokshayoho. The mind alone is the cause of bondage and liberation, says Amrita Bindu Upanishad. The mind. It conjures an image of a mighty tree, vast in its expanse. Its branches stretch outward in the form of emotions: anger, doubt, humility, arrogance, judgment, greed, ambition. These branches may bear leaves and fruits, but what is the tree's root? Where does this vastness emerge from? That is the true inquiry. Yena rupam rasam gandham shabdan sparshamscha maithunan etenaiva vijanati kimatra parishishyate, says Katha Upanishad. That by which one perceives form, taste, smell, sound, touch and pleasure, through which all knowing occurs, what remains to be known beyond it? The Brahma Rishis, the loftiest of seekers, sat in contemplation of this very question. Their debates were not trivial philosophical musings, but rather the most essential of all inquiries. What is it? What is that, knowing which all else is known? Shiva's fire was a reminder, a cosmic demonstration of truth, that the mind alone cannot grasp the infinite. Na pranena, na panena, martyo jivati kaschana, ya evam veda tasyayam, brahmatma samvishati. Not by breath, nor by the life force does man live, but by knowing that he merges into the Brahman, says Katha Upanishad. Yet the mind is not to be discarded, nor controlled in the crude sense of the word. To seek to control the mind is to bind oneself further, for even control, after all, is a function of the mind itself. Rather, it is to be understood, deeply observed, allowed to reveal its own nature. This is the primordial question. Is it Ajneyam, the unknowable, or is it Jneyam, that which can be known? Perhaps we are asking the wrong question. Perhaps the very act of asking is the obstruction. We will return to this inquiry again and again. For now, let the fire of Shiva's infinite linga continue to burn in the depths of our thought. Nandikeshvara uvacha sasarjatha mahadevaha purusham kanchitadbhutam bhairavakyam bhruvor madhyat brahma darpad jighamsaya savai tada tatra patim pranamya shivam gane kim karyam karavan yatra shighram agyapaya prabho. Shiva uvacha vatsayoyam vidihi sakshat jagata matya daivatam nūnamarchaya khadgena tigmena javasa param. Savai gruhitvaikakarena kesham tat panchamam druttam asatya bhashinam chitva shiro hasya nihanta mudyataha prakampayan khadgamatishfutam karaihi. Pita tavothrushta vibhushanambaras tat guttariyam amalakesha samhitaha pravataram bhevalateva chanchalaha papatavai bhairava pada pankaje. Tavadvim tata didrukshirachyutaha krupalur asmatpati pada pallavam nishitya bashparai vadat krutanjalir yatha shishuhu svam pitaram kalaksharam. Achyuta uvacha tvaya prayatnena purahi dattam yadasya panchananamisha chihnam tasmat kshamasva adhyamanugraharham kuru prasadam vidaye hyamushmai. Ityarthitochyute neshastustah suraganangane nivartayamasa tata bhairavam brahmadandataha. Atha devaha kitavam vidhim vigatakandharam brahmamastvamarhanakankshi shateva shatvam samasthitaha. Na taste satkrutir loke bhuyat sthanot-savadikam brahmovacha swamin prasidatya mahavibhute manye varamme shirasaha pramoksham. Namastubhyam bhagavate bandhave vishvayonaye सहिष्णवे च दोषाणां शम्भवे शैलधन्वने. ईश्वर उवाच अराज अभयमेतद्वै जगत्सर्वं नशिष्यति ततस्त्वं जहि दण्डार्हं वह लोकधुरं शिशो. वरं ददामि ते तत्र गृहान् दुर्लभं परं वैतानीकेषु गृहेषु यज्ञेषु च भवान् गुरुः. निष्फलस्त्वद्रुते यज्ञः साङ्गश्च सह दक्षिणः अथाह देवः कितवं केतकं कूटसाक्षिणम्. रेरे केतकदुष्टस्त्वं शठदुरमितो व्रज ममापि प्रेमते पुष्पे मा भूत् पूजास्वितः परम्. इत्युक्ते तत्र देवेन केतकं देवजातयः सर्वा निवारयामासु तत्पार्श्वादन्यस्तदा. केतक उवाच नमस्ते नाथ मे जन्म निष्फलं भवताज्ञया सफलं क्रियतां तात क्षम्यतां मम किल्बिषम्. ज्ञान अज्ञान कृतं पापं नाशयत्येव ते स्मृतिः तादृशे त्वयि दृष्टे मे मिथ्या दोषः कुतो भवेत्. तथा स्तुतस्तु भगवान् केतकेन सभास्थले न मे त्वद्धारणं योग्यं सत्यवागहमीश्वरः. मदीयस्त्वां धरिष्यन्ति जन्मते सफलं ततः त्वं वै वितानव्याजेन ममोपरि भविष्यसि. इत्यनुगृह्य भगवान् केतकं विधिमादवौ वीरराजसभामध्ये सर्वदेवैरभिष्टुतः. Nandikeshvara said, after that, Shiva himself, wishing to wipe away Brahma's pride, brought forth an extraordinary man called Bhairava from the very core of his own power. On the battlefield, after respectfully saluting his master, Bhagavan Shiva, Bhairava asked, O Swamin, please grant me a command without delay. What task shall I perform for you? Shiva replied, O child, these Brahmas are the primordial deities of creation. You must with swift and precise action, using your sharp sword, worship them, that is, put an end to them. Then Bhairava, seizing Brahma's hair with one hand, cut off the raised fifth head, the one that was speaking, with his sword drawn, preparing to strike down. O virtuous youth, at that moment, as your father's ornaments, garments, garlands, and pure unbound hair scattered in a storm, they fell in clusters upon Bhairava's lotus-like fleet, much like the trembling banana trees and entwined creeper vines. And then, moved by a desire to protect Brahma, the compassionate Vishnu, moistening the lotus feet of my Bhagavan Shankara with his tearful water, joined his hands in prayer, just as a small child, speaking in broken words to his father would do. Achyuta spoke, O Bhagavan, you are the very one who graciously granted Brahma the form with 5 faces. Therefore, they are worthy of your favor. Please forgive their faults and be pleased with them. Hearing Achyuta's prayer, a pleased Bhagavan Shiva, before the assembly of the gods, stopped Bhairava from punishing Brahma. Addressing the deceitful Brahma, now deprived of one head, Shiva said, O Brahma, in your pursuit of superiority, you have adopted the nature of a deceiver. Henceforth, you shall not be honored in this world, and your temples and festivals will no longer be celebrated. Then Brahma said, O Bhagavan of immense opulence, be gracious toward me, for I now regard even the severing of my head at your hands as the highest honor. I salute you, Bhagavan Shiva, the one who, for the sake of the world, is a friend of all, who endures every fault, and who wields a bow as unyielding as a mountain. Ishvara declared, O child, if the fear of discipline is absent, the entire world will perish. Therefore, you must punish those who deserve punishment and ensure the order of this universe. I now bestow upon you a most rare boon. Accept it. In the Agnihotra and other Vedic as well as domestic sacrifices, you shall remain supreme. Even the all-encompassing, abundant southern sacrificial rite will be fruitless without you. Then Bhagavan Shiva addressed the deceitful Ketaka Pushpa, one who had given false testimony, saying, "O wicked Ketaka, go far away from here. The flowers you offer in my worship are not pleasing to me." On hearing the words, all the Devatas removed Ketaka from his presence and sent him elsewhere. Ketaka then replied, "Bhagavan, I offer you my humble salutations. Because of your command, my very birth has turned out fruitless. Please forgive my sin and make my birth successful. The sins committed, whether knowingly or unknowingly, are obliterated mainly by remembering you. So after beholding your magnificent form directly, how can any fault remain in me for having spoken falsely?" In that assembly, as Ketaka Pushpa extolled his praises, Bhagavan Sadashiva said, "I speak nothing but the truth. Therefore, it is not proper for me to accept you. However, my own attendants, Vishnu and the divine hosts, will receive you, ensuring your birth is successful, and under the pretext of a pavilion and other such honors, you shall remain in my presence." Thus, by bestowing his grace upon Brahma, Vishnu and the Ketaki Pushpa, Bhagavan Shankara became resplendent in the assembly, glorified by all the Devatas. In the grand cosmic drama, the acts of punishment or destruction, often directed towards that which is evil, are not merely acts of wrath or retribution. On closer reflection, one discerns an unmistakable thread of compassion woven through these divine actions. It is as if a parent, observing a misbehaving child, intervenes not out of anger, but to lovingly correct and guide the child back into the path of dharma. This sentiment is beautifully encapsulated in the Sanskrit shloka, "Vagartha vivasampraktau, Vagartha pratiprattaye, Jagata pitarau vande, Parvati parameshwarau." Here the divine couple, Parameshwara and Parvati, are celebrated as the celestial parents of the universe. They are not only the creators, but also the nurturers and correctors of the cosmic order. Even severe actions are ultimately compassionate. Their interventions, far from being acts of vengeance, are akin to a caring parent's firm yet gentle admonishment, intended to restore balance and foster growth. As Isha Upanishad says, "Isha Vasyamidam Sarvam." All this, whatsoever exists in this changing universe, is enveloped by the Ishvara. This sentiment, or statement rather, reminds us that the divine presence pervades every aspect of the cosmos. It implies that every act of creation, preservation, or even destruction is an expression of a higher love and wisdom. Even when the Ishvara appears to act decisively, destroying what is harmful, such actions are imbued with a compassionate purpose. They serve not only to punish wrongdoing, but also to purify and uplift, ensuring that the cosmic order remains unharmed and that every Jivatman is gently steered back towards the path of dharma. In summary, both the shloka referring to Shiva and Parvati as the cosmic parents and the timeless teaching of the Isha Upanishad invite us to see beyond the surface. They urge us to understand that the harshness of divine correction is not born of malice, but of a deep, abiding compassion, a love that seeks to nurture, correct, and ultimately redeem. From our limited positional perspective, often born out of ignorance and ahamkara, we inflate the significance of our actions, even our so-called bad actions. Consequently, we carry the burden of guilt a lot longer than is prudent. After all, Isha Vasyamidam Sarvam. Nandikeshvara Uvacha Tatrantare Tau Chanatham Pranamya Vidhimadhavau Baddhanjali Putau Tushnim Tastatur Dakshavamagau Tatra Sanstapya Tau Devam Sukutumbham Varasane Pujayamasutuhu Pujyam Punyaihi Purushavastubihi Paurusham Prakrutam Vastu Geyam Dirghalpakalikam हारनुपूरकेयूरकिरीटमणिकुण्डलैः यज्ञसूत्रोक्तरीयस्त्र क्षौममाल्युङ्गुलैयकैः पुष्पताम्बूलकर्पूरचन्दनागुरलेपनैः धूपदीपसितच्छत्रव्यजनध्वजचामरैः अन्यैर्दिव्योपहारैश्च वाङ्गमनोदितवैभवैः पतियोग्यैः पश्चलभ्यस्तौ समार्चयतं पतिं यच्च चेष्टतमं वस्तु पतियोग्यं हि तद्ध्वज तद्वस्त्व अखिलमिषोऽपि पारम्पर्यचकीर्षया सभ्यानं प्रददौ हृष्टः पृथक् तत्र यथाक्रमम् कोलाहलो महानासी तत्र तद्वस्तु गृह्यतां तत्रैव ब्रह्म विष्णुभ्यां चार्चितः शङ्करः पुरा प्रसन्नः प्राहतौ नम्नौ सस्मितं भक्तिवर्धनः ईश्वर उवाच तुष्टो अहमध्यवां वत्सौ पूजयास्मिन् महादिने दिनमेतत्ततः पुण्यं भविष्यति महत्तरं शिवरात्रिरिति ख्याता तिथिरेष मम प्रिया एतत्काले तु यः कुर्यात् पूजां मल्लिङ्गवेरयोः कुर्यात् स जगतः कृत्यं स्थितिः सर्गादिकं पुमान् शिवरात्रावहोरात्रं निराहारो जितेन्द्रियः अर्चयेद्वा यथा न्यायं यथा बलं वञ्चकः यत्फलं मम पूजायां वर्षमेकं निरन्तरं तत्फलं लभते सद्यः शिवरात्रौ मदर्चनात् मद्धर्मवृद्धिकालोऽयं चन्द्रकाल इवाम्बुधेः प्रतिष्ठात्युत्सवो यत्र मामको मङ्गलायनः यत्पुनः स्तम्भरूपेण स्वाविरासमहं पुरा स कालो मार्गशीर्षे तु स्यात् आद्रक्षमर्पकौ आर्द्रायां मार्गशीर्षे तु यः पश्येन्माम् उमासुखं मद्वेरमपि वा लिङ्गं सः गुहादपि मे प्रियः अलं दर्शनमात्रेण फलं तस्मिन् दिने शुभे अभ्यर्चनं चेदधिकं फलं वाचामगोचरम् रणरङ्गतले मुष्मिन् यदहं लिङ्गवर्ष्मणा जुम्भितो लिङ्गवत्सम् आलिङ्गस्थानमिदं भवेत् अनाद्यन्तमिदं स्तम्भमणुमात्रं भविष्यति दर्शनार्थं हि जगतां पूजनार्थं हि पुत्रकौ भोगावहमिदं लिङ्गं भुक्तिमुक्त्येकसाधनं दर्शनस्पर्शनध्यानाज्जन्तूनां जन्ममोचनम् अनलाचलसङ्काशं यदिदं लिङ्गमुत्थितम् अरुणाचलमित्येव तदिदं ख्यातिमेष्यति अत्र तीर्थं च बहुधा भविष्यति महत्तरं मुक्तिरप्यत्र जन्तूनां वासेन मरणेन च रथोत्सवादिकल्याणं जनवासं तु सर्वतः अत्र दत्तं हुतं जप्तं सर्वं कोटिगुणं भवेत् मत्क्षेत्रादपि सर्वस्मात् क्षेत्रमेतन्महत्तरम् अत्र संस्मृतिमात्रेण मुक्तिर्भवति देहिनाम् तस्मान्महत्तरमिदं क्षेत्रमत्यन्तशोभनं सर्वकल्याणसम्पूर्णं सर्वमुक्तिकरं शुभम् अर्चयित्वात्र मामेव लिङ्गे लिङ्गेनमीश्वरं सालोक्यं चैव सामीप्यं सारूप्यं साष्ठिरेव च सायुज्यमिति पञ्चैते क्रियादीनां फलं मतं सर्वेऽपि यूयं सकलं प्राप्स्यथाशु मनोरथम् नन्दिकेश्वर उवाच इत्यनुगृह्य भगवान् विनीतौ विधिमाधवौ यत्पूर्वं प्रहतं युद्धे तयोः सैन्यं परस्परम् तदुत्थापयत् अत्यर्थं स्वशक्त्यां मृतधारया तयो मौढयं च वैरं च व्यपनेतुम् उवाच तौ सकलं निष्कलं चेति स्वरूपद्वयमस्ति मे नान्यस्य कस्यचित् तस्मादन्यः सर्वोऽप्यनीश्वरः पुरस्तात् स्तम्भरूपेण पश्चात् रूपेण चार्भकौ ब्रह्मत्वं निष्कलं प्रोक्तमीशत्वं सकलं तथा dvayam mamaiva samsiddham na mandanyasya kasyachit tasmat ishvattvamanyesham yuvayorapi nakvachit. Tadajnanena vam vruttamishamanam mahadbhutam tannirakartumatraivam uttitoham ranakshitau. Tyajatam manamatmiyam maishe kurutam matim mat prasadena lokeshu sarvopyartah prakashate. Guruktir vyanjakam tatra pramanam va punah punaha brahmatvamidam gudham bhavat pritya bhanamyaham. Ahameva parabrahma mat swarupam kalakalam brahmatvadishwaraschaham krutyam me anugrahadikam. Bruhatvad brahmanatvacha brahmaham brahmakeshavau samatvad vyapakatvacha tathaivatmaham arpakau. Anatmanaha pare sarve jiva evana samshayaha anugrahatyam sargantam jagatkrutyam cha panchakam. Ishatvadeva me nityam namadanyasya kasyachit adau brahmatva buddhyartam nishkalam lingamuttitam. Tasmatakyata ishatvam vyaktam dyoyitum hivam sakalo hamato jataha sakshadishastu takshanat. Sakalatvamato gyeyamishatvam mayi sattvaram yadidam nishkalam stambham mama brahmatva bodhakam. Linga lakshana yuktatvan mama lingam bhavedidam tadidam nityamapyaryam yuvabhyamatra putrakau. Mahatmakamidam nityam mama sannithya-karanam mahat pujamidam nityam abheda linga linginoho. Yatra pratishtatam yena madiyam lingamidrusham tatra pratishtatah soham pratishtopi vatsakau. Matsamyameka lingasya sthapane falamiritam dvitiye sthapite linge madaikyam falamevahi. Lingam pradhanyatah sthapyam tathaveram tu gaunakam linga abhavena tatkshetram saveramapi sarvataha. In a solemn assembly, Nandikeshvara then addressed Brahma and Vishnu. After bowing reverently to Paramashiva with their hands joined in silent supplication, the two deities took their places at his right and left. At that very moment, the Brahman manifested directly on an exalted seat, accompanied by his kutumb or family, and was worshipped by Purusha Vastus. It is explained that that which endures eternally in an unchanging state is known as the Purusha, the spiritual essence, and while that which lasts only a short while is termed as Prakriti, the material. With this understanding, it is said that Brahma and Vishnu offered worship to Bhagavan Shiva using the finest elements of the eternal realm: garlands, anklets, fragrant ornaments, crowns, precious earrings, Yagyopavit, the sacred thread of initiation, Uttariyam, the upper garment, floral wreaths, silken fabrics, rings, betel, camphor, sandalwood paste, blended with incense, lamps, white parasols, ceremonial banners, and many other such divine gifts. Through these sacred items, Brahma and Vishnu venerated their Swami Maheshvara, a form whose grandeur transcends mortal speech and the limits of the mind, befitting only the Paramatma who is beyond the reach of the bound. O Sanat Kumar, all the excellent items deemed worthy of the Swami were joyfully and appropriately distributed by Paramashiva among the assembly, ensuring that the noble tradition of sharing one's received blessings with the dependents would endure. This act stirred a lively commotion among those gathering to receive these gifts. In that moment, the ever-gracious and devotion-enhancing Bhagavan Shiva, already exalted in the worship of Brahma and Vishnu, laughed warmly as he addressed the two deities. Then the Bhagavan himself spoke. "O dear children, today is a most exalted day. I am deeply pleased by the worship you have bestowed upon me. For this reason, this day shall be held as supremely sacred and glorious. Henceforth, this very date shall be celebrated as Shivaratri, a day forever dear to my heart. He went on to declare that whoever on this blessed day worships both my linga, the symbol of my nishkal or formless transcendent nature, and my embodied aspect, often represented in sacred imagery, will be empowered to create, sustain, and nurture the whole Jagat, the world. Moreover, the devotee who observes a rigorous fast, abstaining from food, day and night, and offering pure, wholehearted worship on Shivaratri, will receive immediately the fruits that would otherwise take an entire year of steadfast devotion. Just as the rising full moon heralds the swelling of the ocean, so too does the sacred day mark the flourishing of my divine dharma. In celebration of this auspicious time, my installation is to be observed as the beginning of a joyful festival. As echoed in the timeless spirit of the Upanishads, with the resonant truth of Aham Brahmasmi, I am Brahman, the unity of all existence is affirmed. O dear one, when I first manifested as a radiant pillar during the month of Margashirsha under the Adra Nakshatra, those who were fortunate enough to glimpse my form, whether by beholding my consort's reflection or catching a glimpse of my linga, became even more precious to me than even Kartikeya. On that propitious day, merely seeing me conferred the full blessing of devotion, and when accompanied by sincere bhakti and worship, the rewards were beyond the power of words to describe. On the very battleground of cosmic creation, when I appeared in the form of linga, I expanded so magnificently that the very place became known as Lingastan. O my children, as people from all corners come to witness and worship this linga, the infinite eternal light of my presence will appear but as a glimmer. This sacred symbol is the means by which all pleasures are made accessible and is a sole instrument for attaining both worldly enjoyments and the ultimate liberation. Its sight, its touch, and its meditation liberate beings from the endless cycle of birth and death. The glory of this Shivling, radiant like a blazing mountain of fire, has bestowed upon this land the name Arunachal. Here, many great pilgrimage sites will arise, and those who dwell in or visit this blessed region shall find their salvation. With the celebration of Rathotsava, or the chariot festival here, myriad forms of life will take up residence in this sacred realm. Every offering, every fire ritual, and every recitation performed in this land will yield manifold, even crore-fold benefits. This region shall stand supreme among all my domains. Merely remembering me here will grant liberation to the Atmas, or the souls. Truly, this enchanting land is of the utmost importance, bestowing all forms of welfare and leading every seeker towards moksha. By worshipping me, Lingeshwara, through the consecration of this linga, a devotee attains the 5 kinds of liberation, the pleasures of worldly life, intimate communion with the divine, a likeliness in form, omnipresence, and the ultimate union. In this way, all that the heart desires is granted swiftly. Nandikeshvara then recounted how, as a blessing to the humble Brahma and Vishnu, Bhagavan then revived those from the divine armies who had fallen in the erstwhile fierce battle with his Amrit Varshini Shakti to erase the foolish pride and the mutual enmity that had arisen between Brahma and Vishnu. The Bhagavan then began addressing them thus. I possess 2 aspects, I declare, the Sakal, which is the manifest, and the Nishkal, which is the formless. No other forms exist apart from these. All others are but transient shadows. O my children, first I appeared as a luminous pillar, and then in my direct tangible form, my Brahma Bhava represents my formless essence, while my Maheshwara Bhava embodies my manifest grandeur. These two eternal forms are the only reality. There is no divinity apart from me. Therefore, neither you nor anyone else can ever claim true divinity. To dispel the conceit born of ignorance, the pride that had led you to mistakenly believe in a separate divinity, I have come forth on this battleground. Abandon your arrogance and fix your buddhi or intellect upon me, the Parameshvara. Through my grace, all realms illuminate with clarity, and it is out of my deep love that I reveal this profound Brahma Tattva to you. I alone am the Parabrahman, whether in the form of the manifest Saguna or the formless, which is Nirguna, both are my own. As the embodiment of the auspicious Brahma, I am indeed the Supreme Lord, whose duty is to bestow grace upon all beings. O Brahma and Keshava, for I am the source of all cosmic expansion. I am Brahman, ever present, ever pervading, the very soul of all creation. All other beings are Anatman Rupam, or devoid of the true self. They are non-self by nature. From the act of creation to the bestowal of grace, the 5 cosmic functions that govern the universe, only I exist. First, I manifested as the Nishkal Linga to reveal my formless aspect, and then to dispel the obscurity of divine truth from your hearts, I appeared directly as Jagadishvara in my manifest form. Therefore, recognize that the essence within me is revealed in my manifest form, while the symbol of my formless nature is embodied in my linga. O my children, for it bears my sacred mark, you must worship it daily, for in its proximity you shall truly encounter me. Since the linga and its accompanying symbol are eternally undivided, even the highest of beings must consummate the devotion to it. O dear one, wherever my linga is established, I, who was once formless and unmanifest, become firmly established there. It is said that by consecrating even one of my lingas, a devotee attains equality, and when a Shivaling is established thereafter, it bestows upon the seeker the profound union with me, a state of oneness that transcends all boundaries. Primarily, one must establish the Shivalinga. The installation of an image is secondary. Even if idols of me are set up all around, in the absence of Shivalinga, the place is not truly sanctified. Shivaha Kevaloham. Who is Shiva? He is the Adi Yogi, the primordial yogi, the eternal, infinite, formless consciousness that pervades all. Yet, in his boundless grace, he manifests, taking the form for those who seek. Paramashiva speaks of his 2 aspects, the Sakala and the Nishkala, the manifest and the formless. How do we comprehend this? How do we truly know Shiva? For any object to be known, there must be an observer and the observed. Yet, true knowledge or realization occurs only when the observer dissolves into the observed and when the duality ceases. This is the highest state of jnana. The ancient Maharishis of Bharat called this profound absorption or dhyana a state beyond thought, beyond cognition. Yatra tvasya sarvatmaiva bhut tatkenakam pashet, tatkenakam jigret, tatkenakam chufvit. The Brihad Aranyaka Upanishad says, when everything becomes the self, what is there to see? What is there to smell? What is there to worship? The journey of the seeker is akin to the course of a river flowing towards the ocean. Though all rivers merge into the same vast expanse, each has its own path, its own terrain. We too begin our journey from where we are, our conditioned minds, our limitations, our perceptions. Our cognition, bound as it is to form, cannot fathom the formless. The Shivalinga is but a murti, a window through which we glimpse the infinite sky of Shiva Tattva. The great Maharshis, in their compassion, knew that the human mind needed a gateway to the formless. Thus, they gave us the linga, a symbol of eternity, the axis of the cosmos, a representation, yet not a representation. Lingam tu sarva devanam, muktisthanam tu sakshat, lingasya pujaye kurvanti, te yanti paramam padam, says the Skanda Purana. The linga is the place of liberation for all the devatas. Those who worship the linga attain the supreme abode. But how does one transcend from the seen to the unseen? The practice of relentless dhyana, absorption in the linga, leads to the realization of the infinite Shiva Tattva. You, the observer, begin with the Shiva Linga as the observed. Your mind fixes upon the form, and slowly, in the fire of tapasya, your mind itself dissolves. The mind that once divided, discriminated, created names and forms, this very mind, which is the source of samsara, begins to fade. What then remains? Chaitanyam, or pure consciousness. Manohi dvidha satam, karanam moksha bandhayoho, bandhaya vishaya saktam, muktyai nirvishayam smritam, says Amrita Bindu Upanishad. The mind alone is the cause of both bondage and liberation. Attached to the objects, it leads to bondage. Free from them, it leads to moksha. When this process reaches its zenith, you cease to exist. Not in the sense of annihilation, but in the realization that there was never a you apart from Shiva. What was the you that disappeared? It was merely the ego, the false self. The mind that labeled, that structured, that thought it knew is now destroyed. Then what remains? Only Satchitanandam. Satyam Jnanamanantaram Brahma, says Taittiriya Upanishad. Brahman is the truth, consciousness and infinity. Sat being the pure truth, unchanging beyond name and form. Chit being the consciousness or the eternal witness. And Ananda meaning pure bliss beyond all duality. This is Shiva. And this is what you become in that state. There is no you left to perceive, no subject, no object. There is only Shiva. This is the true meaning of Shiva as the destroyer. Not a mere cosmic dissolution, but the dissolution of the false self, the annihilation of ignorance. Asato ma sadgamaya, tamaso ma jyotirgamaya, mrityorma amrutam gamaya, says Brihat Aranyaka Upanishad. Lead me from the unreal to the real, from darkness to light, from death to immortality. And this is what Narad Maharshi performed tapasya for. This is what he sought to realize, Aham Brahmasmi, in Brihat Aranyaka Upanishad, which says, I am Brahman. When he attained that state, he did not worship Shiva as separate. He became Shiva. He was Shiva. And so are you. Shivoham, Shivoham. I am Shiva, I am Shiva. This is the path of the yogi. This is the destiny of all seekers, to not just know Shiva, but to become Shiva.
Brahma Vishnu Uchatuhu Sargadi Panchakrutyasya Lakshanam Bruhinau Prabho Shiva Uvacha Matkrutya Bodhanam Guhyam Krupaya Prabravimivam Srushtihi Stitischa Samhara Sthirobhava Apyanugraha Panchaiva Me Jagat Krutyam Nitya Siddham Ajachutau Sargaha Samsara Samrambhasthat Pratishtita Stitirmata Samharo Mardanam Tasya Tirobhavastadutkramaha Tan Moksho Anugrahastan Me Krutyamevam Hi Panchakam Krutyametadраhatyanyanyastushnim Gopura Bimbavat Sargadi Yachatuhu Krutyam Samsara Parijrumbhanam Panchamam Mukti Heturvai Nityam Maicha Susthiram तदिदं पञ्चभूतेषु दृश्यते मामकैर्जनैः सृष्टिर्भूमौ स्थितिस्तोये संसारः पावके तथा तिरोभावो अनिले तद्वत् अनुग्रह इहाम्बरे सृज्यते धरया सर्वमद्भिः सर्वं प्रवर्तते अर्च्यते तेजसा सर्वं वायुना चापनीयते व्योम्नान् अनुगृह्यते सर्वं ज्ञेयमेवं हि सूरिभिः पञ्चकृत्यमिदं वोढुं ममास्ति मुखपञ्चकं चतुर्दिक्षु चतुर्वक्त्रं तन्मध्ये पञ्चमं मुखम् युवाभ्यां तपसा लब्धमेतत् कृत्यद्वयं सुतौ सृष्टिस्थित्य अभिधं भाग्यमत्तः प्रीतात् अतिप्रियम् तथा रुद्रमहेशाभ्याम् अन्यकृत्यद्वयं परम् अनुग्रहाख्यं केनापि लब्धुं नैव हि शक्यते तत्सर्वं पौर्विकं कर्म युवाभ्यां कालविस्मृतं न तद् रुद्रमहेशाभ्यां विस्मृतं कर्म तादृशम् रूपे वेशे च कृत्ये च वाहने चासने तथा आयुधाधौ च मत्साम्यमस्माभिस्तत्कृते कृतम् मध्याह्नविरहाद्वत्सौ मोढयं वामेवमागतं मज्ज्ञाने सतीमैवं स्यान्मानं रूपं महेशवत् तस्मान् मज्ज्ञानसिद्ध्यर्थं मन्त्रमोङ्कारनामकम् इतः परं प्रजपतं मामकं मानभञ्जनम् उपादिशं निजं मन्त्रमोङ्कारमुरुमङ्गलम् ओङ्कारो मन्मुखाज्जज्ञे प्रथमं मत्प्रबोधकः वाचकोऽयमहं वाच्यो मन्त्रोऽयं हि मदात्मकः तदनुस्मरणं नित्यं ममानुस्मरणं भवेत् अकार उत्तरात् पूर्वमुकारः पश्चिमाननात् मकारो दक्षिणमुखात् बिन्दुः प्राङ्गमुखतस्तथा नादो मध्यमुखादेवं पञ्चधासौ विजृम्भितः एकीभूतः पुनस्तद्वदोम् इत्येकाक्षरो भवत् नामरूपात्मकं सर्वं वेदभूतकुलद्वयं व्याप्तमेतेन मन्त्रेण शिवशक्त्योश्च बोधकः अस्मात् पञ्चाक्षरं जज्ञे बोधकं सकलस्य तत् अकारादि क्रमेणैव नकारादि यथाक्रमम् अस्मात् पञ्चाक्षराज्जाता मात्कृताः पञ्चभेदतः तस्माश्चिरश्चतुर्वक्त्र त्रिपाद रायत्रिरेव हि वेदः सर्वस्ततो जज्ञे ततो वै मन्त्रकोठयः तत्तन्मन्त्रेण तत्सिद्धिः सर्वसिद्धिरितो भवेत् अनेन मन्त्रकन्देन भोगो मोक्षश्च सिद्ध्यति सकला मन्त्रराजानः साक्षात् भोगप्रदाः शुभाः नन्दिकेश्वर उवाच पुनस्तयोस्तत्र हत्तिरं पठं गुरुः प्रकल्प्य मन्त्रं च समादिशत् परं निधाय तच्छीर्ष्णकराम्बुजं शनैरूढङ्घमुखं संस्थितयो सहाम्बिकः त्रिरुच्चार्य गृहीन्मन्त्रं यन्त्रतन्त्रोक्तिपूर्वकं शिष्यौ च तौ दक्षिणायामात्मानं च समार्पयत् प्रबद्धहस्तौ किलौ तौ तदन्तिके तम ऊचतुर्देववरं जगद्गुरुम् ब्रह्माच्युतावूचतुः नमो निष्कलरूपाय नमो निष्कलतेजसे नमः सकलनाथाय नमस्ते सकलात्मने नमः प्रणववाच्याय नमः प्रणवलिङ्गने नमः सृष्ट्यादिकर्त्रे च नमः पञ्चमुखायते पञ्चब्रह्मस्वरूपाय पञ्चकृत्यायते नमः आत्मने ब्रह्मणे तुभ्यमनन्तगुणशक्तये सकलाकलरूपाय शम्भवे गुरवे नमः इति स्तुत्वा गुरुं पद्यैर्ब्रह्मा विष्णुश्च नेमतुः ईश्वर उवाच वत्सकौ सर्वतत्त्वं च कथितं दर्शितं च वां जपतं प्रणवं मन्त्रं देवीदिष्टं मदात्मकम् Jnanam cha sustiram bhagyam sarvam bhavati shashvatam ardrayam cha chaturdashyam tajapyam tvakshayam bhavet. Suryagatya mahardrayamekam koti gunam bhavet mrugashirshantimo bhagaha punarvasvadimastatha. Ardra samam sada gyeyam puja homadi tarpane darshanam tu prabhate cha pratah sangavakalayoho. Chaturdashi tatha grahya nishita vyapini bhavet pradosha vyapini chaiva parayukta prashasyate. Lingam veram cha me tulyam yajatam lingamamuttamam tasmal lingam param pujyam veradapi mumukshibihi. Lingamomkara mantrena veram panchaksharena tu swayameva hi saddravyaihi pratisthapyam parairapi. Pujayet upacharaischa matpadam sulabham bhavet iti shasya tatha shishyau tatraivantara hitah Shivaha. Brahma and Vishnu said, O Bhagavan, please explain to us the characteristics of the Panchakritya, the original 5 acts. Then Shiva replied, Understanding my actions is exceedingly profound, yet with compassion I shall tell you both about them. O Brahma and Achyuta, the 5 functions concerning my cosmic operations are Srishti or creation, Sthiti or maintenance, Samhara or dissolution, Tirobhava, the transit or change, and Anugraha or divine grace. These 5 acts are eternally accomplished. The beginning of creation, from which the universe unfolds, is called Sarga. Its steady existence, upheld by me, is termed as Sthiti. Its destruction is called Samhara, and the movement or displacement of life is Tirobhava. Finally, the deliverance from all this is my Anugraha. In this way, these 5 acts are mine. They are quietly carried by the other 5 elements, just as the reflected images in water move continuously. He then continued, The 4 acts of creation, maintenance, dissolution, and transit serve to expand the world, while the 5th act, the Anugraha, is the means for liberation. My own eternal and unchanging nature remains ever fixed within me. My devotees perceive these 5 acts as manifest in the 5 elements. Srishti dwells in the earth, Sthiti is in water, Samhara is in fire, Tirobhava in air, and Anugraha in the sky. From the earth all creation arises, from water all growth ensues, fire consumes all, air carries everything from one place to another, and the sky bestows protection upon all. This, O learned ones, is something you must know. He then explained further. To bear the weight of these 5 acts, I possess 5 faces. 4 are directed towards the 4 cardinal points, and the 5th is situated in the center. O my children, by your austerities you have pleased me, the Paramatma, and you have attained 2 of my acts, Srishti and Sthiti, which have brought you great fortune and are very dear to you. In the same way, my other forms, Rudra and Maheshwara, have received from me the other 2 acts, Samhara and Tirobhava, yet none has been granted the act of Anugraha. Shiva then went on, You have, over time, forgotten all your earlier deeds, but Rudra and Maheshwara have not forgotten their actions. Therefore, I have bestowed upon them a likeliness of my own being. Their form, appearance, actions, vehicles, seats, and even their weapons are all akin to mine. Addressing them with gentle admonition, he said, O my children, because you have become void of my constant meditation, you have fallen into foolishness. My wisdom no longer shines in you with the pride and form of Mahesha. Therefore, for the perfection of my knowledge, you must both recite the mantra called Omkar, It is this very sound that dispels pride. Shiva then recalled, in ancient times, I taught a mantra embodying my nature, which is renowned in the form of Omkar, a mantra of supreme auspiciousness. First, from my own face, the sound of Om emerged to reveal my true essence. Omkar is the Vachak, the speaker, and I am the Vachya, the one that must be spoken. This mantra is my very nature, and by its constant remembrance each day, I am perpetually recalled. Shiva then described the process. Initially, from my northern face arose the sound or akara, from the western sound, the u or ukara, from the southern face, ma or makara, while from the eastern point and the central face, the primordial vibration or nada emerged. These 5 components together formed the sacred sound, Om. Unified, they became the single syllable known as the Pranava. This name pervades the entire manifest world as well as the Vedic descriptions of both Shiva and Shakti, or the masculine and the feminine, signifying the essence of matter and the power of creation. He explained further. From this very Pranava arose the Panchakshara mantra, which reveals my manifest form. It appeared sequentially in the order of A and then in the form of N, manifesting as Om Namah Shivaya. Through this Panchakshara mantra, the Matrika or the sacred letters were revealed, letters characterized by 5 distinctions. From these, the Shiro mantra and the tripartite form of Gayatri emerged from these 4 phases. From that Gayatri, the entire Veda was revealed, and from the Veda, countless mantras originated. While each of these mantras confers its own specific accomplishment, it is through this Pranava and the Panchakshara that all desires are fulfilled. This foundational mantra grants both worldly enjoyments and liberation. All the mantras associated with my manifest form directly bestow enjoyment and auspiciousness. Nandikeshvara then narrated, after this, seated with the goddess Jagadamba or Parvati by his side, the Guruvar Mahadeva, facing north, covered Brahma and Vishnu, who were veiling themselves with a garment with his own lotus-like mark on their heads, and gradually through deliberate recitation imparted upon them the supreme mantra as instruction. Continuing, Shiva then said, by following the prescribed methods detailed in the esoteric texts, I chanted the mantra 3 times and initiated those 2 disciples into its mysteries. Thereafter, the disciples, offering their Guru Dakshina by surrendering themselves with folded hands, stood close to him and extolled the divine qualities of Deva Sreshta Jagat Guru. Then Brahma and Vishnu proclaimed, O Prabho, you are the formless essence. We offer you our salutations. You radiate with unmanifest brilliance. We honor you. You are the master of all. We bow to you. Whether regarded as the embodiment of all souls or as the manifest Maheshvara, we pay homage to you. You are the expression of the Pranava, and we salute you. You are the one who bears the Pranava and the Linga. We honor you. We salute you who carries out Srishti, Sthiti, Samhara, Tirobhava and Anugraha. To you, the Panchamukha, we pay our respects. You who are the form of Pancha Brahma Swarupa, or the 5 cosmic acts, you are the Sarvatma, the soul of all. You are Brahman. Your qualities and powers are infinite. Whether in your manifest or your formless aspect, you are the true Guru and Shambhu. We offer our salutations to you. Thus, after praising his Guru Maheshwara, Brahma and Vishnu prostrated themselves at his feet. Finally, Ishvara spoke again. O dear child, I have explained and revealed to you both that very essence. You must continually recite the Pranava, expounded as the garland of the goddess, which is my own nature. He then continued, By such recitation, one gains knowledge, enduring fortune, and all that is eternal. When the pranava is chanted on the Chaturdashi or the 14th day associated with Ardra Nakshatra, it yields inexhaustible results. Reciting it once during the Mahadra period linked with the sun's transition multiplies the fruit manifold. Likewise, the concluding part of the Mrigashira Nakshatra and the beginning of Punarvasu are also considered equivalent to Ardra when it comes to puja, homam, and tarpanams. It is essential to know that the darshana of me or of my linga should be performed at dawn and again in the early hours before noon. He added, my bhakti, including offerings and rituals, should be performed on the Tridarshi, the 14th day, when the night pervades, or Nishitavyapini, or during Pradosha Vela, for it is only then, when combined with the new moon or Amavasya, that my praise is truly extolled. For devotees, while both my form and my linga are revered, the linga is regarded as superior to the image. Therefore, aspirants should consider the linga even more exalted than any idol and worship it accordingly. With the Omkar mantra for the linga and the Panchakshara mantra for the form, one should have the Shiva linga established either personally or through others and worship it with the finest offerings and remedies. By doing so, my grace becomes readily attainable. In this way, those two disciples were ultimately absorbed into the teachings of Paramashiva, who then vanished from that place. Of all the times, if there was ever, I feel the most constrained by language itself, it is now when I try to describe Omkar. Mandukya Upanishad says, Ityedat aksharamidam sarvam tasyopa vyakhyanam bhutam bhavad bhavishyaditi sarvam omkara eva yachanyat trikalatitam tadapyomkara eva. It means, Om is this whole universe. Its further explanation is, the past, the present, and the future, all that is verily Om. Whatever is beyond the three periods of time is also indeed Om. I feel constrained because it is like trying to explain that which is truly avyaktam. How to contain an ocean within a drop of water? I cannot call it a word because it transcends all meaning. I cannot call it a sound because it is anahata. Anahata meaning the unstruck, the eternal resonance, the soundless sound. Not born of friction, not made by hand, yet ever present in the cosmic weave. It is the pulse of existence, the hum of the infinite, the vibration that underlies all forms, yet remains beyond perception. It is said to be heard when the mind is still, when the thought ceases, when the seeker, in deep absorption, dissolves into the vastness of Brahman. Anahata is the sound of Om before it is uttered, the primordial current from which all creation arises, yet which itself is untouched by creation. It is the heartbeat of the universe, the song of the eternal, the whisper of the formless, resonating within the silent core of all beings. When the self-inquiry in ancient Bharat reached its loftiest heights and comprehended the unfathomable depths, if there ever could be one word that aptly encapsulates this profound understanding into one word, it would be Om. Paramashiva asks Brahma and Vishnu to chant Omkar. Don't mistake it simply to be the sound that you can chant. The Gyanis of ancient India use the word ajapa to describe it, the one that cannot be chanted. It is that primordial sound that can only be realized, and after realizing it, there is nothing else left to be known. The Brahma Rishis in ancient Bharat, when they sat stiller than mountains, where the rivers of thought had run dry. A silence arose within them that was not empty, but was full. And in that boundless stillness, they heard it. Om. The Pranavanada, the primordial sound. They didn't invent it, they uncovered it. For when the Brahma Rishis dissolved all movement of their minds, this vibration alone remained, self-born, eternal. Omkaraha Parabrahmam, says Mandukya Upanishad. Elsewhere and much later, purified minds did come close to it. They used resembling words like Amen or Amin. Brahma Rishis, however, went beyond the state of a purified mind. They transcended the very mind, and they realized Om. Ekoham Bahusyam, says Chandogya Upanishad. I am one, may I become many. Even creation itself began with this sound. It is not cultural, it is not regional, it is not religious, it is simply reality. But how can a man, tossed by emotion and thought, hear the one sound? The Manusmriti says, Ekoham Bahavoime Janmanyeti Vinischitam Manuhu Swayam Prajapatehe Sangyam Labhate Buddha. I am one, but I take many births. This is certain. The wise understand that Manu is a name for the progenitor of all beings. What is being said is that man is a crowd. Each man is a sanghata, a collection of impulses, identities, past impressions, but Om is the key to dissolve the crowd, to become one. Sangatam va purusham manyante, says Manusmriti. Om is the flame that burns duality. It is the bridge between sound and silence, between the Jivatman and the Paramatma. Sohamasmi, says Brihat Aranyaka Upanishad. I am that. So chant not with the lips, but with the heart. Let the noise fall away, and in the silence beyond thought, listen. You may just hear it again. The word Om.
Om.